What's going on, guys? Today I'm here to bring you another one of my 2014 NAWCQ H.A.T format deck profiles. Today I'm going to be showing off a very beloved deck to a lot of people, and much so a fan favorite deck, and that is Geargia. It's extremely competitive, definitely considered one of the top decks during this format. It's very good, very resilient to a lot of the other top decks in the format, and as always, very consistent. So without further ado, let's get into this profile, as I know you guys are excited. So starting off with the monsters, we play 3 copies of Geargia armor. This is basically the heart and soul of this deck, being able to on flip summon add a Geargia monster from deck, and also being able to reset itself. 3 copies of Geargia Arsenal. This is basically lone fire for your Geargia monsters, being able to tribute it and summon a Geargia from deck. It also has a slight stat adjustment based on the number of Geargia monsters you control. That doesn't come up too much, but it is there. Next, we have 3 copies of Geargia Accelerator. Basically, if you have a Geargia monster, you can special summon it, and then it also has an effect that when it's sent from the field to the graveyard, you can target a Geargia monster in your graveyard, accept itself, and add it to your hand. Keep in mind that effect can miss timing, though, and that is your basic Geargia monsters. After that, we have 3 copies of Geargiano MK2, which basically, when it's normal or flip summon, you can special summon a Geargia monster from your hand or graveyard in face-up defense position. This can really combo off with a lot of things, being able to get back your armors, get back your arsenals, and combo from there. A lot of cool things, and also 1 Geargiano. You play this because of the trap card you saw at the beginning that I'll go over shortly. But basically you contribute it to target a level 4 lower machine in your grave, special summon it, but it has its effects negated. So in theory you could also use Geargiano MK2 to summon this back and make a rank 3 as well, but that's it for the basic Geargias. Next, we do play some modern hand traps from this format in this deck, being 3 copies of DD Crow. This is a slightly slower deck in a sense, at least to set up. So Crow is just one of the best hand traps you can play for interruption, specifically against faster decks like the Dragon Ruler decks, Lightsworn Rulers. It can be good even against things like Bujins, being able to banish some of their interaction from grave, though that might turn on some of their other cards. Crow in general is just really good, same with being good against the artifacts. And I also play 2 copies of Max C. I think some decks will play 3 Max C and 2 Crow. Personally, I think 2 Max C is perfect versus the 3 Crow, because a lot of times you want to see your combo pieces and stuff, and a lot of combos, sure, this can draw you into it, but Crow will be more impactful in stopping some decks' turns versus vice versa. So I think this is the perfect lineup. And then the last monster is 1 Traptrix Mermail. This is actually really common in Geargia to play 1 to 2 copies of this just as an additional normal summon, and it has some other cool things that I'll be showing off shortly. But that is it for the monsters. Moving on to the spells, very short spell lineup because, again, this is more of a control deck in a sense, where you play a lot more trap cards. So the spells you're playing are 3 copies of Mystical Space Typhoon, again, very trap heavy format in general. So being able to pop back row and just have that out to certain cards, such as like different floodgates and, you know, popping your opponent's artifacts on their own turn so they won't trigger, really strong. After that, we play 2 copies of Soul Charge. Soul Charge is really good in this deck because basically any 2 Geargias kind of get you into full combo, as well as just being able to recur your stuff. But 2 is the perfect number. And then lastly, 1 Dark Hold, because going second and clearing boards is really strong. Next, the trap cards. Like I said, there's a bunch. 3 Geargia gear. This is the heart and soul of the deck besides your Geargia arsenal. Pretty much what this does is you can special summon 2 Geargiano monsters from your deck and increase their levels by 1, so they'll be level 4s. And you can only use that effect once per turn. So basically the idea is to set this, activate it on your opponent's end phase, and then you'll have 2 Geargianos that are level 4s, so then you can start making your Geargigan X and all your plays. That's also why we play the additional Geargiano versus the MK2s, simply so that we always will have this card live, because it's just amazing. After that, 3 copies of Fiendish Chain and 2 copies of Breakthrough Skill. This deck sets a lot of back row, so it makes it kind of susceptible to H.A.T. So having the form of negation is really important. Some people will even max out on 3 Breakthrough Skill. Personally, I think that 2 is enough, and same with the 3 chains. You could swap the ratios, go for 3 Breakthrough Skill and 2 chain, or 3 and 3. It's really a player preference. I really like this ratio, especially because it allows me to play some of the other traps that I think are really good in this deck specifically. So kind of just test around and see what you like for that. Besides those, I play 2 copies of Call the Haunted. This isn't as common, but I like being able to bring back the arsenals and kind of deck thin some more. It kind of, in a way, acts as like a 1 version of the Geargia gear later in the game. It can also bring back your Mermail to pop back row. I side this out a lot, but in general, I really do like it in the main. And because we are playing the Mermail, I also chose to play 1 Traptrix Trap Hole Nightmare and 1 Bottomless, just as searchable targets, and they're just really good cards in general. After that, 1 Wiretap. Some decks will actually play 2 of this. Sometimes you could side in more, sometimes you'll side it out depending on the matchup, because it's not always great, but because you do set a lot of back row, you also get blown out by a lot of back row, so having that is really cool. And the last 2 traps are 1 Torrential and 1 Warning, just because those are the best trap cards. Moving on to the extra deck, I play 1 Ragna Zero for all the decks that can play Tenki, and in general, just a good card. 3 copies of Geargigan X. Basically, this searches machines level 4 or lower from your deck, and it also has a cool effect that when it leaves the field, you can summon a level 3 or lower Geargia monster from your graveyard, so being able to bring back your Geargianos is really cool, especially Geargianos specifically, not the MK2, because then you can tribute it, summon a different Geargia from grave or whatever, and just kind of get all your plays started. That effect can also, I believe, miss timing, so that is something to keep in mind. 1 Black Ship of Corn, just being able to out things like the hands and other problematic cards. 1 Honor Arc. Some people will choose to play 2 in this deck because there is technically a few flex spots. I think 1 is fine because I'd rather have the option to play other things that could come up. 1 Diamond Direwolf, outing Floodgates. A big floodgate that people will play is DNA Surgery, I believe it's called, that will change the type so they're no longer machines, which can stop some of your extra deck. H.A.T, just a good card. Sorry about the glare there. Just really good in general. Daigusto Emerald, being able to shuffle back your resources. Dweller to stop, things like the artifacts, hands, mermails, lots of different things like that. And the last rank 4 is Rhapsody. Kind of more copies of DD Crow in a sense, so really good, and can also get your Xyz beefy. Next, we do play a couple rank 3s, being Acid Golem, just because it's huge. It's a 3,000, so the decks that play Skill Drain and stuff, it's cool being able to have a card that just gets really big. 1 copy of Soul of Silver Mountain. This card specifically needs 2 level 3 Earth monsters. It has big defense, 2200, which makes it kind of a wall. And the other cool thing about it is you can detach a material and target a back row your opponent controls and make so they can't use it while it's face up on the field. So it kind of just ices that back row, and then it also has the effect that when it destroys a monster, I believe in battle specifically, while it's face up on the field, you can summon back a earth monster from your grave. So kind of like another copy of Geargia MK2 in a sense. So really good. After that, one Alucard being able to pop back row, and one copy of Wind Up Zenmaines just kind of as a wall, as well as being able to pop other cards. That is it for this deck profile. As always, if you have questions about siding patterns, cards to side in general in this deck, or anything like that, definitely make sure to comment that in the comment section. The reason I don't really show off the side decks is it's really just up to the player. There's a lot of options and how they like to play, as well as there's certain cards you should be siding in general just because of bad matchups. But as usual, like I said, if you have any questions about that, comment that in the comments section. Maybe I'll make a video specifically on the siding patterns for different types of decks. And if you enjoy this content, it really does mean a lot if you would drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. I plan to put out more deck profiles, more gameplay, and different things along those lines, discussion videos and stuff. So I really do appreciate it. So without further ado, I will see you in the next video.